Let's take a look at some information and charts on Dogecoin for Brave New Coin. Doge is one of the earliest altcoins still in existence, still running today, thanks in large part to Charlie Lee's idea of merge mining script coins. I'll get to that in a second. They just released a Dogecoin manifesto, they being some of the developers and people behind the Dogecoin Foundation, something that I didn't even know existed until today. Being useful, personable, welcoming, and reliable. I think when people all of a sudden make a bunch of money, they assume people need to take them seriously in some way. I don't know. I'm not trying to belittle this or diminish it, but yeah, just interesting. Here are the people behind it. They have a board, they have advisors. One of the creators of Doge, if you don't know, he, along with one other person, Jackson Palmer, were the co-creators, kind of made this in a weekend, basically. And it's risen to power from really an entrance sandbox thing to something that's printing money for a lot of people. And they don't have a roadmap yet, but it's pending apparently. So again, this thing kind of did a bunch of nothing for years, which was fine. It did what it did well in that it allowed people to play around with crypto without fear of losing money. Now all of a sudden it's worth money, and the devs have stepped in, made a foundation, and said, hey, people care about this thing. They even have a war chest. It appears as though they're sitting on 6.4 million USD. That's in Doge, obviously subject to volatility up and down, but they have money, so they're going to be paid, which is good. You don't want devs wondering how they're going to get paid for their work. Here's some of the stuff upcoming. You can scroll through this as part of the roadmap. And if you look at the contributions, since 2017, not too much going on, right? On the GitHub commits side of things, now they've said like Litecoin, they merge this stuff off GitHub and then bring it onto GitHub, whatever. Cool, awesome. I'm happy that devs are taking this seriously again in a big way, it seems, now that they have a bunch of money. If we look at hash rate and difficulty, a lot of this is impacted by price volatility. Some of this is likely impacted by Dogecoin botnets, which do exist. Anytime you see big changes in hash rate over 1 or 2 days, it's typically one entity, either a botnet or a cloud mining service or something, switching on and off. Recently, hash rate dropped significantly with price with China stuff, and that's creeping back up again. And just to reiterate, without the early years here, without the merge mining stuff in Litecoin land, Doge would not exist. It would have ceased to function sometime pre-2017, almost certainly. If you look at the script miners today at 4 cents per kilowatt hour, which is what industrial mining services likely get or better, these profitabilities are probably just the Doge calcs. They're probably not Doge and LTC, but they're still highly profitable, even have new miners coming later this year. So this hash rate chart is a combination of GPUs, CPUs, and ASICs, but ASICs are coming later in the year. 1,100 nodes on Doge, mostly in the US, Germany, France, and Canada. Many of those are updated to the latest version. This boring stuff is important to pay attention to for decentralization purposes. You want a vibrant node network with full nodes that are not on cloud services. Ideally, these are individual people, although it's unlikely that all of these are individual people. To some degree, these are probably on cloud services. You'd have to dig into that a little deeper. But what you don't want to see is 80% of the network mined with one entity with 4 nodes, right? Like EOS, you don't want to see a centralization of nodes in a specific country, because then there's a regulatory risk, there's an act of God risk with flooding, whatever, right? You don't want to see any of that. So geographic distribution is important, people distribution is important, mining distribution is super important. Looking at mining revenue for script coins, Doge and LTC, the majority of this is currently Doge, has been for quite some time, since the beginning of the year. Previously to 2021, Doge was peanuts compared to LTC revenues, and all that changes when Doge is at 30 cents, right? And if you look at the slice of the pie, Doge is 75% of total mining revenue, and still 4 million a day, which is just insane to think about. I don't know who's absorbing this on the market, because if I'm a Doge miner at these prices, I'm selling every single red cent I can get my hands on every single day as fast as I can do it. Maybe that's the most rational thing to do, and maybe most miners aren't doing that. I don't know. But this isn't going to last forever, certainly. These prices are very unusual for Doge, historically. Looking at issuance, Doge is blessed in that it has a sub 4% inflation rate, nearing ETH, basically identical to LTC. So as a store of value, it's not terrible, considering people seem to be actually using it other than trading for stuff, I guess. I don't know. That's also hard to tell. But inflation isn't, 10%, 40%. It's not 2%, but it's not crazy. It's not out of hand. It's definitely right place, right time. If we look at transaction counts, they are way down. All of this was probably a combination of speculative mania, Robinhood wallets, Dogecoin botnets, all sorts of stuff. But to see transaction counts at kind of multi-year lows, if we go all the way back, let's get 2014 out of there. This is like a 4 or 5 year low. I mean, you can't be bullish on anything that looks like that. You could say transactions are this low and price is where it's at. Upside is considerable if transaction counts move up. But you could also say all the activity that was here previously is definitely not here now. And that's not bullish. So there's a bit of a bearish divergence there between price and on-chain activity. Transaction counts, average transaction values rather, up significantly with price. Nothing too crazy there. You generally see that across the board anytime price moves up. If we look at the mempool and when we look at unconfirmed transactions waiting to be confirmed, still pretty low here. It's sub 100 transactions on any given day, and then sub 50 to 25 during down periods. So not a lot of backup activity going on chain, which is good. Active addresses down from all-time highs. They weren't at like listing or creation all-time highs, but they were at effective all-time highs since 2014, and they're down to 55,000 from 150,000. NVT fell pretty dramatically throughout 2020 and 2021 to an all-time low. So even with transaction counts low, active addresses low, NVT is still telling you this is a pretty good time relatively to buy Doge, which makes me believe NVT isn't a great signal here, because I'm looking at the price chart in a second and it just doesn't make any sense to me to buy up here. NVT is rising, so you could say, okay, maybe it's not as bullish as I'm led to believe based on historic NVT, but activity in general is rising relative to market cap, at least has been over the past 2 years. If we look at MVRV, which is a multiple of market cap versus on-chain activity, historically for most coins, they get to a 2x multiple, so that means the market cap is 2 times on-chain activity. Doge has gone to 3 on 3 occasions. This most recent occasion it got to 3.5. Currently it is at 1.8. So it's already in be careful, dangerous territory relative to other coins, relative to itself. This thing could 2x from here as far as the MVRV is concerned. Since pre-2017 it held below 1, and your buy zone historically is going to be below 1 for most coins. And your sell zone here is definitely going to be anything above 2.5. Be careful. Anything above 3, be careful. And anything above 3.5 is probably the top. That is mass speculative mania at that point in time. Maybe Robinhood off-chain stuff is allowing this to go higher. I don't know. It's going to be harder to figure out over the next run. But if I'm looking at this and it's at 3.5 as a multiple, you got to get nervous if you're holding up there, because it has never really exceeded 3.5 and held that multiple. Dogecoin Google trends also echoing active addresses and transaction counts, low but curling up. So again, you could say there's a bearish divergence here. Doesn't make sense for price to be where it's at, considering it took this amount of activity to hold price in May, and now price hasn't really moved down significantly. I mean, it's down what? From 60 cents to 30 cents, so it's 50% off, but activity is down like 80%, 75%. So again, there's a bit of a bearish divergence there, but if this starts curling up again, then you can say, all right, maybe mania is coming back to Doge. And then one last fundamental thing that's interesting is Robinhood reported that 62% of crypto revenue in Q2 was Dogecoin trading. So we definitely know where a lot of this activity is coming from, Robinhood, and then Robinhood trades through Kraken, I believe, based on how the Kraken Doge markets move. I'm sure they get Doge from multiple places, but Kraken's a big factor there. Moving on to technicals, 5200 cross, yearly pivots I added because they're comical. They're at, sub 2 cents. VPVR also comical in that most of the volume historically, really not even historically, but since 2019 is at the sub half penny range. Volume RSI. So no volume up here, that's an issue. Yearly pivots all the way down here, that's an issue. But 5200 cross, still bullish, held bullish. Somehow, I don't know how, but I did. You had your bull cross all the way back in November 2020. And it's had a series of 50 EMA tests on the daily. Attempted a death cross, which got denied along with everything in crypto. And now it's basically 2x'd from the lows. Had a type of inverted head and shoulders, I guess you could argue. Things to watch for here would be any bear div on price, very similar to bear div you got on these two highs, and you got a bear div on RSI, bear div on volume. That's something to watch out for on any higher high here in the next couple weeks. Still, the 30 cents price is insane to me. Here's the daily cloud. It merged into the daily cloud with a bullish TK cross. So the target here is 42 cents, something like that, 45 cents. So as bearish as I am on where this sits, the technicals say, you know what, this could go to 45 easily based on what everything else is doing. ETH hit this equivalent target. BTC hit this equivalent target. Solana, I mean, there are plenty of coins that have hit this target. So to see Doge back to 45 cents would not be unreasonable, certainly. And here's the 12-hour cloud. Through the cloud, bullish TK cross, bullish cloud. This looks fine for bullish continuation, honestly. Previously, this level was a pretty nice horizontal support at around 32 cents. That's probably a level to watch. But trend-wise, that looks fine. Here's Doge BTC on the weekly zoomed way out. Just another way to show. Historically, this thing has lived between 0 and 100 sats, and it's at 660. So be careful with the long-term investing hypotheses on this one, because downside is considerable from current prices. Not saying this can't go up. Not saying trend is bullish. I'm just saying be careful. Not investment advice, but be careful. On the daily cloud, it's almost back above the cloud. Almost has a bullish TK cross. This thing, again, easily could keep going based on trend, as much as that doesn't particularly make sense. And on the 12-hour, it is gearing up to cross bullish in a big way. Probably by Q4, we will know how bullish this thing can get. And Doge to $1 is kind of a meme, but if things pop off in Q4 like they might, then Doge could easily hit that target. Based on trend metrics, based on devs doing stuff and things, I can see roadmap shenanigans. It's the classic, not pump and dump stuff, but stuff that moves price, right? Doge, the devs are coming back. Boys are back in town. Meat is back on the menu. We're doing upgrades. We're doing commits. We're doing stuff. Again, this isn't diminishing what they're doing. It's just like they've gone from doing virtually nothing to doing a ton of stuff. I say virtually nothing, even though they've done 6 big updates over the past couple of years, but they're doing more than they've ever done. Let's just say it like that, over the past couple of years. And lastly, let me just mention the ETH-BTC fund and DeFi portfolio. I trade for Techemy Capital on Enzyme.finance, non-custodial portfolio management tool, where you can send ETH or USDC or just watch what I'm doing. You can see AUM, performance, allocations, all the coins I'm in on the DeFi portfolio, all the yield plays I'm making here, all the trades at the bottom on the trades tab, as well as deposits and withdrawals. That's all for this one. Like, dislike, comment, share, subscribe, and happy trading.